Any American who has driven through parts of Europe or other countries may have encountered something that to American sensibilities can seem baffling: the roundabout.
Any American who has driven through parts of Europe or other countries may have encountered something that to American sensibilities can seem baffling: the roundabout. Roundabout. A roundabout is a circular structure in the road at a place where several roads meet. You drive around it until you come to the road that you want the car stalled at the roundabout.
The traffic feature that can literally have you driving in circles is almost entirely missing from the US. And Americans may dread driving through one, fearing they will suffer a fate akin to that of the hapless Clark Griswold.
And Americans may dread driving through one, fearing they will suffer a fate akin to that of the hapless Clark Griswold. Hapless. A hapless person is unlucky, it is a hapless state.
It's amazing, I cannot get left.
Needless to say, compared to Europe, the US is roundabout poor. Between the two, Europe dominates a list of the 25 cities with the most. That is, except for Miami, Florida, Berkeley, California, and, believe it or not, Carmel, Indiana.
We're excited about our roundabouts. I'm told this is number 121.
The mayor of Carmel, Jim Brainerd, became enamored of roundabouts while studying in the UK as a young man.
The mayor of Carmel, Jim Brainerd, became enamored of roundabouts while studying in the UK as a young man. Enamor means have a liking or admiration for. I have to say that I am not enamored of the countryside.
He has filled the streets with them, about 150 and counting, in a city of 100,000 people.
He has filled the streets with them, about 150 and counting, in a city of 100,000 people. And counting. If you say and counting after a number or an amount of something, you mean that the number or amount is continuing to increase. There is a 1,700-year-old tea tree still living in southern China which is more than 100 feet tall and counting.
I get requests every month, it seems. Can you get rid of this traffic light near my house or near my business? I couldn't take a roundabout out today if I wanted to. The people here are very proud of what we've done because they know that it's safer.
Research supports this. Roundabouts are considerably safer for drivers and pedestrians and cause much less congestion than traffic lights. They're even better for the environment. So, are they all they're cracked up to be?
So, are they all they are cracked up to be? Cracked up to be. If you say that something is not all it is cracked up to be, you mean that it is not as good as other people have said it is. Is the movie really as good as it is cracked up to be?
And if so, why hasn't the US adopted them? This is Jim Brainerd. He's been the mayor of Carmel, Indiana since 1996. When he took office, Carmel had a quarter of its current population, and the roads were laid out on a rural grid, long stretches of road in between stoplights.
What I heard from the people I talked to when I ran for mayor that first election was they wanted a traditional downtown.
He knew they wouldn't be able to accomplish that with the layout the city had.
We looked at other suburbs around the United States and in North America, and we saw all this congestion. We thought we just have to do better if we're going to have a successful, competitive city.
So he thought of roundabouts.
The single-lane roundabout or also the mini roundabout, they are the safest type of intersection which you can have. They are much safer than signalized intersections.
Roundabouts are basically circular intersections where traffic moves in one direction around the circle. Modern roundabouts tend to be relatively tight circles and often have one lane, though they can have more. The tighter the circle, the more drivers have to slow down when entering and exiting the roundabout. This is how it works. The first thing to know is in a modern roundabout, traffic already in the circle has the right of way. When entering a roundabout, cars should slow down, look to the left, and yield to any cars coming through the circle. There might be signs posted indicating the rules and the speed limit. If the roundabout has 2 or more lanes, drivers will want to get into the appropriate lane for their exit. For example, taking an exit further away might require a driver to get into a left lane. A very near exit might require a driver to keep right. Often, signs will be posted, but you will need to plan accordingly. As a car approaches its exit, the driver should use the turn signal and then make a right turn to then head out of the roundabout. Cars should yield to pedestrians crossing and bicycles within the circle. More importantly, there isn't really an opportunity for the kinds of collisions that occur when a driver runs a red light, because there are no red lights to run. The most severe intersection crashes, head-on, right angle, and left turn collisions are unlikely. In 2021, 24% of all U.S. crash deaths, 10,445 people, occurred at intersections. That same year, an estimated 127,000 people were injured in red light running crashes.
That same year, an estimated 127,000 people were injured in red light running crashes. Red light running. If a vehicle enters an intersection any time after the signal light has turned red, the driver has committed a violation. The police officer fined the driver for red light running.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, or IIHS, cites a number of studies done on the safety benefits of roundabouts. Among other things, the findings show that converting traffic signs or traffic signals to roundabouts reduced crashes by up to 62% and injury crashes by up to 87%. Most of these studies focus on single-lane roundabouts, the preferred style for most designers, and the one considered the safest. Roundabouts also appear to be safer for pedestrians. You walk on a sidewalk around the perimeter of the road, and if you need to cross, you only need to watch out for traffic coming in one direction at a time. Also, again, cars are driving about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Areas that adopt them have seen drops in traffic congestion. Cars don't spend time sitting still at red lights. Traffic doesn't get backed up behind a vehicle attempting a left turn. There are no left turns. That vehicles inside the circle have right-of-way also helps prevent backups. Carmel Mayor Brainerd has seen all of these effects with the roundabouts in his town. The average vehicle fatality rate in the U.S. is 12.9 deaths per 100,000 people, and the rate is slightly higher in neighboring Indianapolis. Carmel, on the other hand, which shares some roads with the larger city and a lot of the same drivers, has a fatality rate of just over 2 per 100,000 people. Accident-related injuries are down 80%. The town has been able to narrow roads, remove lanes. Brainerd says they move traffic 50% faster. The city is also saving a lot of money. A single traffic light costs about $400,000, Brainerd says.
They draw a lot of electricity, suck a lot of electricity. So you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 a year per light. So if you've got 100, 200 lights in your city, do the math, it's a lot of money. And then after 20 years, you've got to replace that $400,000 light plus inflation.
That's just the light. Then you have to employ people to service the lights, manage the timing on the lights. Natural disasters such as severe storms can knock traffic lights out. Then consider the cost of adding more lanes to roads as population increases. But if these are so wonderful, why didn't they take off in America? Why isn't every U.S. town like Carmel? A bit of history might help explain. Modern roundabouts are descendants of the traffic circle, which did indeed have a presence in the United States. Columbus Circle in Manhattan is one such traffic circle. In fact, though circular roads had been seen in cities long before cars came around, Columbus Circle is considered the first roundabout of the automobile era. It was the brainchild of William Phelps Eno, a rather legendary figure in the history of traffic control.
When Jim Brainerd took the helm of Carmel, Indiana in late 1996, roundabouts were nowhere in the city or on the minds of people he consulted. Helm. You can say that someone is at the helm when they are leading or running a country or organization. After more than a decade at the helm of Colorado State University, Albert C. Yates today announced his retirement.
Also known today for the think tank that bears his name.
We drive on the right side of the road here in the United States, thanks to him and his ideas. He invented the stop sign. He basically invented the sidewalk. We didn't have sidewalk rules or regulations, so he laid out those kinds of rules for New York, laid out the code, for streets in New York City. One-way streets, taxi stands, all these things we take for granted right now.
The New York Police Department had asked Eno to help solve the problem of chaos and accidents that were happening at Columbus Circle at the time, around the turn of the 20th century.
Just after 1900, Columbus Circle was notorious for lots of accidents. You didn't have any regulations. People were going both directions around the circle.
Eno proposed that traffic around the circle move in a single direction, rather than two. It was that simple proposal and the design that resulted from it that reduced accidents to a surprising extent.
It improved traffic congestion in around that part of Manhattan, and it soon became adopted in Paris around the Arc de Triomphe, Piccadilly Circus in London.
It was adopted in Paris around the Arc de Triomphe, Piccadilly Circus in London, and a couple of other places. Arc de Triomphe. The triumphal arch in Paris begun by Napoleon I to commemorate his victories of 1805-6 and completed in 1836. As the blackout hour moved across the globe, Big Ben, Eiffel Tower, and Arc de Triomphe flipped the switch.
A couple of other places.